Okay. Imagine you're in the world's largest jigsaw puzzle store, and you've come across a jigsaw puzzle unlike any you've ever seen before. You're intrigued because the puzzle pieces are all different shapes and sizes, and there's no picture on the box. What would you do to solve that puzzle? I bet most of us would start by putting each piece into a pile, right? You look for the ones that have the same colors into one pile, the same square pieces into another pile, and so on. And of course, the jubilation when you find one of those treasured corner pieces, right? So, as we continue to work on the puzzle, you'll realize that some pieces don't seem to fit into the piles that we've created. They're either too big, too small, too odd shaped. And that's when the real fun begins. From a young age, we were trained to sort and differentiate different pieces we can encounter. And as adults, we do that with people. We try to fit people into boxes. Are they straight? Are they single? Are they married? Are they educated? And so on. We all do it. We categorize and label people based on their appearance, their beliefs, their background. And just like with the jigsaw puzzle I spoke about earlier, some people just don't fit into a pile or the box that we've created. I am that piece of the puzzle, that very unique puzzle piece. My dad is Indian, born and raised in Malaysia, and he's Hindu. My mom is Filipino, born and raised in the Philippines. She's Catholic. My parents brought my two brothers and I to the temple every Friday evenings. And then they'll take us to the church on Sunday mornings. Talk about a very confusing childhood, right? My full name, Dinega Hari Krishnan. My last name speaks of my dad's heritage. But my appearance hints that there's more to that story. So it makes it hard for someone to slot me into a pile or into a box that they think I would fit in. It's like you could choose to flip a coin, and then you can just try to determine what I really am. So from birth to about 7 years old, my family lived in a village in Johor Bahru, Malaysia. My family was the only non-Malay family in that village. But never once I felt like I didn't fit in. Now, I would go to my neighbor's house and they would treat me like their own child. They would care for me, they would feed me, nurture me. And until today, I can tell you that I remember these aunties and uncles' names. That's Madam Nohayati, that's Makcik Siti, I have Uncle Omar. When I was about 10 years old, I moved to a different neighborhood, and I had to choose between Hindu class, Christian class, and Buddhism class for our Friday religious section of the school. Now, while I spent my Friday evenings in temples and Sunday mornings in church, I can tell you that I was more religiously confused at this point. Right? So when I had to choose between the three religious classes, I had to justify internally which one I would choose. Now, if I went for the Christian or Buddhism class, I would be the only non-Chinese student. So I ended up choosing the Hindu class because I thought that I had a better chance of fitting in. So this time, I chose to put myself in the Hindu box. Now, multiracial and biracial people like me go through this categorizing dilemma all the time. For example, Kamala Harris, the first woman, first black person, and first person of South Asian descent to be the Vice President of the United States of America. And she was someone who struggled with the fact that people wanted to categorize her. Right? She's half black, half Indian. And that confused so many people. But she said that not once did she spend so much time dwelling on how to categorize herself. She said that when she first ran for office, she struggled with the fact that people tried to fit her into the compartment that they have already created. So which brings me to my very, very favorite quote, which resonated with me. I am who I am. I'm good with it. You might want to figure it out, but I'm fine with it. And brings me to my first point. that nothing is so black and white. The question of race is never so clear. Even I sometimes struggle to figure out what I really am. And this is the type of phenomenon that is actually occurring in our society in Singapore, right? In 1984, the number of interracial marriages was at 6.3%, right? And now, that number, the latest report I can find of 2021, has almost tripled. So, when I was about 13 years old, I moved to a new neighborhood. And I was excited to start school in this new neighborhood. So on my first day of school, I went to the front of class and I introduced myself. Hi everyone, my name is Dinega Hari Krishnan. I just moved from SMK Dato Abdul Rahman Yassin. My dad is Indian, my mom is Filipino. I'm so excited to make new friends. I thought my introduction went really well. People smiled, they were very welcoming and everything. So I went to recess. And when I came back, I saw a group of kids hovering over my backpack. They scurried away when they saw me, and I thought nothing of it. So class went on. My teacher told us to take out our notebook. I took out my notepad, I turned over the cover page, and on the first line page, I saw the words Abu Sayyaf written all over the first page. I looked at my textbooks, Abu Sayyaf written all over my textbooks. I heard the laughing in the back, and I turned over and I looked at the group of boys. They were laughing and mouthing the words Abu Sayyaf. Now, for those of you who don't know what Abu Sayyaf is a militant organization in the Philippines. So because I'm half Filipino, they decided to relate Abu Sayyaf to me. Now, at that point, I felt like I had two choices. To give the boys the reaction they wanted, go to the teacher and report their actions, or the second, to ignore it. Don't give them the reaction they wanted. So, believe it or not, I chose option number 2. I ignored it. I went back home, I took my eraser, and I erased all of the words Abu Sayyaf all over my textbooks and my notepad. And I told my parents, I had a fantastic first day, Mom and Dad. So, through this experience, I realized I do not want this to stop me from having the high school experience that I wanted. I made friends, but in the most unconventional ways, right? I found friends who had common interests. I didn't care about their race. I looked beyond that. I had friends who were Malay, Chinese, Indian, Chinese, Filipino Indian as well, and we all bonded over common interests like Scrabble Club, traditional Malay dance club, leadership club, Bahasa Poetry Club. Which brings me to my second point. It's okay to feel uncomfortable when you're dealing with a situation. For me, my way of dealing with that is by getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. So years went by, and I continued to seek out friends with common interests, and those decisions brought me to Singapore. 12 years ago, I moved to Singapore. I met my husband a year later, and then we got married. So, let's try a little experiment. In the next slide, I'm going to show you 3 pictures. 2 of random children, 1 of my own. I'd like you to think which one you think is my child. You don't have to say it out loud. Just take note. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is my multiracial family. My husband is American, half Swedish, half Irish Welsh. I'm Filipino and Indian. We talked about unique puzzle piece earlier, right? Think about my children. Quarter Swedish, quarter Irish Welsh, quarter Filipino, quarter Indian. Now that's the kind of puzzle piece that you'll need to wait until the end to try to solve, right? After I had my first child, Cyrus, who's in the middle here, I decided to stay home for a bit to care for him. We had a routine life. I would take him for strolls. We would go to the neighborhood playground. And I would walk my beagle, Louie, with my son. Now, one day I was walking with my son and my dog, Louie, and this auntie stopped me. neighborhood? No, I've been living here for a year, actually. Where are you from? Philippines? Myanmar? Indonesia? No, I'm from Malaysia. Oh, bosses can hire from Malaysia? Your boss son is so cute.
Oh.
No, Auntie. He's actually my son. Oh, really? You had him in your stomach for 9 months? Yes, Auntie. I actually had him in my stomach for 9 months. I gave birth to this boy. Now, after that walk, I went back home. I cried so hard. Although what the auntie said wasn't intentional, it did hurt my feelings, right? So the last piece that I wish to share with you is that there's more than meets the eye. My son is just like me. Although he doesn't look like me, which I completely disagree with, he has my contagious laugh. He's got my caring nature. He's a rule follower, like me, right? And anyone who knows me and who knows my son will without a shadow of a doubt say that they see me in him. So at one point it was so confusing to me, I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I wanted to understand, why is it that my son is not tan? Why does he have blonde hair and blue eyes? So I looked at my husband one Christmas and I told him, Simon, we need to do a DNA test. You should have seen the horror on his face. He's like, are you trying to imply that this son is not ours? Right? No. I want to do a genealogy test. I need to understand what is going on here, right? So I ordered the kit, I spit into the tube, and then I got the results a few months later. This is the most recent results. But since then, I've had at least 6 iterations of my DNA story. I've been from Tonga, Samoa, Philippines, well, Philippines obviously, but also French, Italian, Portuguese. But one day while I was talking to my son, I was observing my son putting together his favorite 100-piece puzzle, right? And I noticed a very interesting method of his. Instead of looking at every piece and sorting them out in piles, he looked at the piece like every piece was a unique piece, and he assembled the puzzle. So I asked him, Rowan, why aren't you sorting them into piles? To which he said, but why, Mama? I like seeing every piece because every piece is unique and special. So, you see, there are no real answers or fixed answers when it comes to our identities, right? Identity is not a concrete concept, but rather something that continues to shift based on time, place, growth, circumstance. We're all unique individuals with our own stories and experiences, and it is our uniqueness and diversity that makes this world a uniquely special place. But when we try to fit people into boxes, we dismiss all of that. We reduce them to a single label, a single category, and we ignore their complexities and nuances. So I want to challenge you all to think differently about how you categorize people. Because when you stop trying to fit people into boxes, you open yourselves up to new perspectives, new ideas, and new possibilities. So I'm going to end this tonight with a spoken word piece. I am biracial, a blend of 2 cultures. I am Filipina and Indian, my identity not defined by labels, but people tend to judge me based on my skin color. Assumptions and stereotypes they throw at me with fervor. They say I'm not Indian enough or Filipino enough, a mix of 2 worlds, but they only see the rough. I am proud of my heritage, my roots run deep, and I won't let their judgments make me weep. They ask me, what are you? With a curious tone, as if my existence can't fit into their comfort zone. I am a human being with feelings and dreams, not a science experiment as absurd as it seems. My skin color, a target for their biases and hate, but I won't let their ignorance dictate my fate. I embrace my melanin, my beauty shines through, a representation of my cultures, so vibrant and true. I am biracial, a unique combination of two cultures, a source of inspiration. I stand tall, I am confident in my skin, and I won't let their narrow minds define my kin. I am biracial, a unique creation. My identity not limited by others' perception. I am who I am exactly supposed to be. Now let that sink in. Thank you.